Hey there, guys. It's Mia here. I am so excited. I am super excited about this live today. I'm going to teach very simply 5 ways that authenticity can improve your incredible success. The success that you desire lies in you being authentic. I'm Mia Redrick, business and life consultant. I got started in my company almost 19 years ago. As many of you know, I made a decision. I wanted to figure out how to take my background as a corporate trainer and my systems in motherhood, how to package my know-how into a product or service that I could serve the world with on or offline. Maybe it would work passively. I wasn't really sure. Would it be coaching or consulting or something else? And I kept looking for someone to help me. I had no idea how to get started. And I went to a small business resource center in my town. And the director of that small business resource center told me that my idea, mom coaching in essence, didn't make any sense and that no one would ever pay me to do what I've done today. Fast forward, I've had the opportunity to coach literally thousands of women all around the world and change lives, literally, whether it's changing their life, changing their business, and their life changed because they had more options for themselves that they created following my step-by-step process. Or whether it was that they had a renewed perspective in terms of what was possible for them. Today, I'm going to talk about the power of authenticity and how incorporating authenticity in just 5 simple steps has made all the difference for me in my business and in my life. And it's my goal to share this with you because I think sometimes when we hear people talk about success, or even if you see someone that's created success, sometimes it's important to pull back the layers and say, what's really going on? How is it that someone's been able to achieve that result? And I'm going to break that down for you, at least one perspective today. I would say fast forward, as a result of building my business, it's changed my life. I've built a business where I don't trade time for dollars. I work from the comfort of my home or anywhere that I desire around the world. And it's allowed me to be present as a mom, which was super important to me when I got started my business. And it also allowed me to be there for my husband during a really difficult time. My husband went on dialysis over 10 years ago, and for kidney disease. And I don't know what you know about that therapy. It was super aggressive. My kids were very young when it happened. And I was so grateful that I had built a business that I could depend on that allowed me to be there for my husband. I could be there time-wise, but also I could be the kind of wife that he needed me to be. I could stand in the gap. And it's the reason I do what I do, to support women in a real sense. You build the business for you first. And when you build that business for you, get yourself free or create the financial stability that you desire, you can show up in ways unimaginable for your family. And I experienced that firsthand. And I'd say equally, as a direct result of growing an amazing business, it's allowed my husband and I to give our kids a world-class education. And a lot of the women that follow me, that's one of the things that you dream of is investing in your kids at the highest level in education. We've invested over $1 million in independent schools, educating our kids just in elementary, middle, and high school. And I tell you this not to be braggadocious or anything like that, because it's true. And there's always a reason that you want to grow your business or create financial stability. What is yours? I know for me, the biggest reason for me was I had to get myself free. I mean, free. I knew that whether I built a business or not, my kids were going to get a great education and they'd have a great life. They'd be very comfortable. My husband would take amazing care of us. However, what I didn't know was how was I going to get myself free? And I began to build a business with that in mind. My only goal and objective was to build a business where not only did I get myself free, but that I could stay free and that I could build a business based on leverage. All right. And I've done exactly that. The coolest part is not only being able to create that result for myself, but to be able to support many of my clients equally in being able to replace their income and leave their jobs if they desire to, or to create other options for financial and economic stability. So if you're ready, if you watch my lives, you already know how this goes, right? If you're ready, then I need you to write, I'm ready. And if you're watching the replay, equally, I want you to write, I'm ready. Because you do need to be ready to receive a powerful message. And that is the way that I engage with you. And I figure out whether or not what I'm sharing with you really adds value to you or not. It's based on your comments and what you're sharing. So there's someone on Facebook that wrote, I'm ready. Okay. Valerie, hey, darling, I'm ready. Anyone else ready? You have to be ready to receive a powerful message. So tonight, Valerie, what I'm teaching on, someone else is ready. Awesome. What I'm teaching on is the 5 ways that authenticity can really support you in building an amazing business and brand. And the truth of the matter, Thomasine, is that I'm so glad you're ready, is that a lot of times we think that to build an amazing business, an amazing brand, that it's harder than it really is, or that there's something extra that you have to do that's not already accessible and available to you. And I'm going to break that down for you tonight. All right. And then that's it. All right. So let's just jump in. And I'm so excited that you guys are ready. All right. Number 1. So if you want to build an amazing business, I found for myself that being myself has been my superpower, and it is your superpower. The notion of being anything other than yourself or operating out inside of your zone of genius is the thing that will prevent you from having and being and doing what it is that you desire to do at the highest level. So let me explain. The first thing I learned was, number 1 is to be original. Be original. And not a smaller version of someone else. It's really, really important. There are talents and skills. There's your background. There's all of this experience that you've come with in your lifetime. There are mistakes that you've made and you've learned from them. And that knowing, that experience, that seasonedness called your life, right? The fact of the matter is, when you take all of who you are and you put that in the mix of what you offer as a coach or consultant or a trainer or in your courses or your curriculum, it is the reason that someone would be very attracted to you. I'm going to go really deep on this, because when I got started my business, literally, I got started from this perspective. I was pregnant with my son, my first son, 23 years ago. And my mom made me promise her that I would date myself. And I didn't know what to do on a date with myself. I was pregnant. What do you do when you're dating yourself when you're pregnant? So my mom was a mom that had given everything to her children and didn't make time for her own life. So she didn't practice great self-care, and she didn't want me to fall into that trap. So that's why she said, date yourself. All right. So I started exploring this whole process, and I went on a date with myself, and I decided what I'll do is join a mom's group. So I joined a mom's group for moms that mostly had toddlers and infants. And a lot of those moms equally were pregnant. But I was the only mom in this mom's group that had not yet had a baby, physically a baby to hug and hold yet, because I was 6 months pregnant. And it was one of the most amazing opportunities for me in my life, in a lifetime. It was there that I listened and watched firsthand and learned from women who were on the front lines of motherhood. They were doing what I was going to be doing, but I hadn't done it yet. I hadn't even changed a diaper, for that matter. And I learned from them, but I also learned as I listened to some of their biggest complaints or the things that were getting in the way of them having the kind of life that they desired. Not feeling beautiful anymore, not feeling pretty, sexy, not going on dates with their spouse anymore, losing a sense of themselves, not having hobbies and interests. Many of the women did have those things, but some of the women talked about it. And I remember thinking back then, I want to solve those problems in advance, because remember, I'm pregnant, okay, and they have their baby yet. And so I entered motherhood solving these problems for myself, and I had a very unique perspective because of how I started. And so that became the lens by which I decided to start a business and write my first books, which were Time for Mommy, 5 Essential Strategies for Mother's Self-Care. You get it? So the reality is that what launched my business, what launched my brand, was me being original, not me stepping into someone else's story or figuring that I didn't have what I had already wasn't enough. My story was enough. That was my story. And the truth of the matter is, I was this mom who entered motherhood from the very beginning with systems for herself. I was this mom dating herself 6 months pregnant without a baby in tow because I hadn't delivered yet. And I learned some things very early, and I knew that I could strategically support any single woman with entering motherhood with self-care systems because there were 5 essential things that I did. Okay. So when I talk about being original, I want you to think for yourself right now. Thank you, Thomasine. I want you to think for yourself right now. What is it that is your story that maybe you've divorced a story, or maybe you haven't even thought of it that way, and it's something that is yours. It's yours, your unique perspective. It's the thing that makes you original. You see, what I've learned over the years is that because I stood on my story and I decided that it was enough, I was able to write books that became best-selling books. I was able to do corporate deals with Fortune 100 and 500 companies using those books. I was able to do a movement, start a movement for women, tens of thousands of women, literally all around the world, using my books and my system. It all started with me understanding that simple beginnings are enough and being original. So I always like to share that because I think tonight we're talking about 5 ways that authenticity can improve your success. What if I thought that my story wasn't good enough? Or what if I thought I needed to embellish the story or borrow someone else's story because it's a better story? I would have been able to write about that in my book, and I certainly wouldn't have been able to stand confidently on that truth. All right, number 2. All right, number 2. The second thing I want you to keep in mind if you want to create amazing success by being authentic, being 100% yourself, is know that when you operate in authenticity, you improve, you increase your self-trust. Okay. See, there's something really amazing about being yourself and applying what you know, okay, and doing you, okay, and seeing through the things that are your instincts, your guts, those things that tell you like that's good, go do that, right? I learned over the years that when I would take my idea, thank you, Valerie, when I take my ideas and I share them with others, they would always say, like, wow, that's like, what made you think about helping moms find the me for mommy? All right. I was like, because in essence, that's what I had to do was find time for myself in a consistent way. And I knew that if I operated from that perspective, that I would never be this person looking for self-care outside of myself if I built routines that were ritualistic. It was a practice for me. It wasn't something I read. It wasn't something that I learned from someone else. It was what I was living. And I want you to hear me when I say this, that if you want to create great success in your business and you operate from a place of authenticity, you talk about what you're doing, what you're sharing, where you've been, what you've learned. See, there'll be people who will be tremendously attracted to you, and you will never run out of content. You will never need to copy what someone else is doing because there's an abundance in being yourself. Okay. Practicing by implementing the things that you know. That's what I did. I was dating myself every single week, 60 to 90 minutes at a minimum every single week. I have for, forever. Now I date myself like a lot longer than that. But when I got started ritualistically, 90 minutes a week is what I recommend for most women. It was what I was doing for myself. I became an expert by living and standing in my truth by practicing. And it built self-trust. It allowed me to be able to speak on the topic from many different perspectives. So when I got signed to Emmy nominated, nationally syndicated television shows as the mom strategist, I didn't have to wonder what to say or look at some cliff note or read what to do. I knew intrinsically what to do because it was what I was living. We're talking about authentically creating success for yourself. And that means that you share with the world who you are and what you already have. It's not what someone else has, it's what you have. And understanding that all of your awesomeness comes from that, right? If this is making sense, I want you to write this is making sense. And if this is something that you're like, I just needed this message, because maybe you think sometimes when you're looking at what you're doing that you just need to do it like that person, or do it like her or him, or, other people. But I want you to understand that there is something really unique and powerful about what you bring to the table. And being able to build self-trust, your own internal GPS and guidance system, to know that who you are, what you know, is enough. That's all you really need. I never, when I had to walk into pitch sessions for when I was pitching myself for television segments, I never had to wonder, what would I say? I just shared what I knew, what I was doing. I didn't have to look at Cliff Notes or read what someone else had written, because it was irrelevant, because it wasn't part of my story. You see, the things that I read, right, are enhancements. They make me stronger, but they don't replace my story. Okay. Queen Mary writes, this makes total sense. Thank you. I appreciate you. And Lois writes, just stop and think how many women have been blessed by you. Oh, aren't you sweet? I appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate you. And Valerie writes, this is making a lot of sense. When I'm all of me, my clients tell me how much it helps them. You are amazing, by the way. If you guys are looking for a book coach, Valerie, I highly endorse her. So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about number 2, which is you improve your self-trust being all of who you are, and practicing and leaning in on the things that you know. Anne writes, sharing my story. Awesome. I love it. Number 3. The third thing that I want you to understand about authenticity and how it improves your success is that, and I want you to hear me on this, it's so true. Transparency is attractive. Transparency is attractive. Okay. Transparency, whenever you're around people who are transparent, they're comfortable in their skin, don't you like them more? All right. There's something magnetic about being around people who like themselves. And what I've learned over the years and coaching so many people, and just having the opportunity just to do work that I absolutely love, is that when we're able to be vulnerable, okay, transparency requires that, right? So when we're able to be vulnerable, transparency can happen. And when we're trying to get things just right, just perfect, when we're afraid of being judged, right? When we think that we have to be what someone else needs us to be, what other people need us to be, a lot of times that's when we're not transparent. But when we decide that, you know what, I'm just going to be all of me. This is who I am, right? My intentions are the highest intentions. I'm just going to do good, the good that's out here, the best that I possibly can. Understanding that there's no one else's personal standard that matters in my world. It has nothing to do with me. In fact, that's like a hashtag that I use for myself. Whenever I think about something that I really shouldn't be thinking about, all right, this has nothing to do with you. Okay, this has nothing to do with you. This is what I say to myself as a practice. So transparency is exceptionally attractive. It's when people aren't transparent, I think a lot of times we know what it looks like because they're very elusive. It's sort of like someone says something to you and you kind of understand them, but you kind of don't understand them. They kind of answer the question, but they sort of don't answer the question. And I think one of the things that's really important in your life and in your world is deciding that whether or not you want to be fully magnetic and attractive in your business and your brand. And that means that becoming comfortable, telling your truth, being vulnerable, sharing your story, and not feeling the need to puff or pretend or be everything to everyone. When I got started in my business, I started as a mom coach. And I remember so many people asking me, well, what makes you the mom coach, right? And they wanted me to, in essence, prove to them why I was qualified to coach other moms. See, they didn't know my story. And, Valerie, I had to, what they thought, that had nothing to do with me. Okay. I had to focus on and stand on what I was put here for, and be 100% transparent around what it is that I knew how to do, which was transform other women and help them systematically always find time for themselves and understand how when you make that time for yourself, it isn't selfish. That what actually is selfish is not being all of who you are and sharing yourself with your kids or your spouse, and they get a fraction of you, or you don't even know yourself to be able to inform the process. And that means that your spouse, if you're married, or your boyfriend asks, what would you like to do tonight? You don't even know what you like because you're not even dating yourself enough to be able to inform the process. What I understood was that I had a special superpower, and you've got a special superpower, and that I was going to be transparent around that. And because of that, my ideal clients would come to me over and over again and say to me, Mia, I want to know how to find more time for myself. I'm dealing with overwhelm and I need systems in my life. Can you support me? And I decided I did not want to be a baby Oprah. I didn't want to be a baby Oprah. She was helping people like live their best life, which is amazing. And that was her gift, her talent. But my superpower was really around supporting women with understanding how to find time for the me and mommy. Ask yourself, what is your superpower, and not be a smaller version of someone else, because that's not your superpower. Number four, the fourth thing I want you to think about as it relates to being authentic and how it can improve your success is owning your truth. This is very important. And that means doing what you're meant to do, not what you should and ought to be doing. Okay. Doing what you are meant to do versus what you should and ought to be doing. I'm going to say that again. Doing what you are meant to do, okay, versus what you should be doing or ought to be doing. So let me explain what that looks like. And, I would say when I got started in my business in the olden days, 19 years ago, there were no lives, okay? So a lot of times when you saw people on video, the videos were edited and everything was really airbrushed. I mean, like really everything was so perfect because that's how people were marketing back in those days. Everything was super perfect. And then eventually lives, all this stuff has come. And what has happened is so many people watch what other people are doing and what they do well that they decide, like, I want to do that way. Okay, I want to be him. I want to be her. I want to do it this way. And I actually think that because of social media, being able to instantly digest what we see, a lot of times that's what people do, that it makes people insecure. I want you to own your truth and understand that you ought not to be doing it the way that somebody else is doing it and should not be doing it the way that they're doing it. That there's a reason that you're here. There's a special sauce that you have. And when you understand the power of that sauce and you give that to people, it has tremendous value. Okay, so I'm going to use a real simple example. I'm not real high tech, right, in my business. So, but we use tech all the time. But I'm really a great systems person, a tremendous leader as it relates to systems. And so the truth of the matter, that's who I am. Now, I could have learned from someone that, you need to be high tech, right? And think that if I'm not high tech, I need to study high tech. I need to practice being high tech. I need to do all of these things that are not congruent with me being who I am. The truth of the matter is I've done like 24 PowerPoints in my entire life, and I've never done one myself. It's true. Okay. And I've achieved significant success not doing it. And the PowerPoints I have are super basic. All right. What I've learned is you got to own your truth. There's no should and there's no ought. You've got to do what feels right for you. And it goes back to number two, which is authenticity and understand the power of self-trust. If you don't own your truth, know, like, this is what I like to do and this isn't what I like to do. What if I'm not technical, right? Like, that's not my thing. And what if I said I should be technical? And so I wouldn't be here right now. Let me just tell you, okay? Because I would be studying something, trying to do something when I don't need to do it. Instead, what I've said to myself is, what can I do that's easy and graceful? How can I use technology in the easiest and simplest ways possible to build a business from the comfort of my home? And that's what I've done. And I hope that you understand as I share with you this truth about authenticity, a lot of times people don't get to their next level or where they want to be because they're doing what they should be doing or ought to be doing, they think. And it's the thing that's getting in the way, because understanding what you should be doing and ought to be doing, it should come easily to you. All right. And the moment that there's that difficulty around you trying to be a version of what someone else wants you to be, instead of you owning that truth about yourself and saying, I can achieve the same thing doing it this way. It's always worked well for me, and trusting that. Is this making sense? Is somebody saying, like, you know what, Mia, this is giving me permission to be all of myself, right? And not a version, not a baby version of anyone else. Be yourself. All right. That's where all of your success is going to come. I'll give you another example. I worked with the exact same coach for 19 years, literally. That's a long time, right? 20 years this year. And I think it's November of this year. 20 years. Okay. That's saying a whole lot. And when I met her, I studied from her. I loved the fact that she was free. And I decided I only wanted to work with an entrepreneur who was free. And if you're not free, you can't teach me, meaning you own your time. Okay. And that you generate the majority of your income without trading time for dollars, that you have significant passive income strategies, and that you have the freedom to enjoy what you've created. Because that's how I want to live. And that's how I live today. Because I chose my mentor that way, I was like, man, I love the way that she lived. She would go to Mexico for 3 to 5 months ever since I've ever known her to live. And she's always equally gone to another state, New Jersey, to live during the summer months. And then she goes back winter and she's in Philadelphia. And I was like, man, I love the fact that she's an entrepreneur and she has that freedom. I want that freedom for myself, my own way. I'm going to own my truth. Now, I didn't say I'm going to go buy a house in Mexico where she is, and then I'm going to buy a house in New Jersey where she is, and then I'm going to buy a house in Philadelphia, because I want to own my truth. Okay. I want to be myself. I went to a live event, and that's how I met my mentor. And that's one of the things that I recommend, whether on or offline. That's one of the greatest ways to meet your mentor. So, it's interesting, as a direct result of working with someone who was free and who supported me in getting free. And I've been a full-time entrepreneur for over a decade. And having that vision from the very beginning that I want to work from the comfort of my home with ease and grace. I want to be that cupcake mom that kids show up at school, right, and bring cupcakes when the kids are having a birthday party. I wanted to be that mom. And I didn't want any caps or ceilings or people to tell me that I couldn't come. And I knew that I had to find a mentor or coach who was free equally, that could show me through their lifestyle, right, that I desired that level of freedom. But I had to do it, own my truth. I had to be it my own way. Working with her over the years, she's a business coach as well. I've had plenty of opportunities to decide to be a smaller version of her. And I always think, man, that would be a total disservice. Like, she's teaching me, mentoring me, and I decide to be a baby version of her. No, be the fullest version of yourself when you're working with your mentors, your teachers, your coaches. The same is true, that when you're working with your mentors, your teachers, and your coaches, this idea of respecting their boundaries and, never taking things from them when they're sewing things into you. It's really important. I always credit source, you guys, my clients, if any of you guys are here, 100%. I would never, ever do that. Own your truth. Be your own story. Use your own words. Sell your own system. Tell your own story. Live your own life, the life that you desire to live. Does that make sense? And there's a power in that. It's very attractive. Number five, consistency. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Now, here we're talking tonight about 5 ways authenticity can improve your success. And I will tell you this, the thing for sure that happens when you're authentic is number 5, consistency is super easy. Okay. And see, because you don't have to keep up with what somebody else is doing, because you're being your own truth, right? Because you're sharing what you do, what you know, and you're just expanding on those things. And I can tell you that being in this business over the last 19 years, and I think about all the people I've started off with, so many, and many have achieved great success. But there are a lot of people who had what I call identity fraud, right? Like if you go back, I mean, gosh, 19 years ago, they were doing one thing, and then 2 months later, they're doing another thing, and then 3 months later, doing another thing, and 5 months later, they're chasing the money trap. They're looking at what somebody's doing, and because they don't have their own identity, they can't be consistent in doing what they're doing. If I go back and I look at what I've been doing, if I meet clients, my very first client is a good friend of mine, Tawana Brown Smith. I've been doing exactly the same thing for 19 years, guys. 19 years. Okay. And I've been consistent. The reason that I've been able to create amazing success and stability in my business is because I've been consistent. Okay. Not because I've been like, oh, that's the success, that's the secret, and I decide to be a version of someone else over here, or I see what someone else is doing and I decide I'm going to do that over there. That is the easiest way to not create success in your business, in your life. And I wanted to mention it because a lot of times people think that that is the way. Like, see what someone else is doing and be that version. See what someone else is doing over here and do that too. And what they're doing actually is robbing themselves of a business that really could reward you for just being in your truth. Okay. Consistency happens when you decide, like, this is my story. God, this is my story. You know what I mean? Like, my story is my story. It's always my story. And from that, and you're able to build and grow and build a tremendous reputation in your business because of the consistency that you've been able to provide. I mean, there are people who've been in business for 10, 15 years, and they've not done the same thing. They've been changing what they're doing month by month, year by year, because they don't have that confidence in themselves to take a stand for what they're doing. Valerie writes, let's see, consistency is super easy when you do you. It's so easy. Oh, and you are the only perfect version of you. It's so true. And you don't have to remember anything. You don't have to keep switching things up. You get to go deeper in how you know you. And there's a consistency around that. And also it's the thing that allows your clients to trust you more, meaning they'll see what you were doing in the beginning. They can see the history and the growth, right? And of what it is that you've done. They'll see your personal growth, and they'll also see what you've been doing in your business. Thank you, Amanda. You know what I did, Amanda? I did a skin peel. So I can't do a whole lot. I don't have foundation on right now because you can't do foundation when you do skin peel. I'm on day 2, right? Skin peel. That's what I just did. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. So tonight, what I talked about, I digress, right? Tonight, what I talked about are the ways that being authentic can really improve your success. And I hope that as a result of hearing what I said tonight, and I'll recap in a second, that it's got your brain spinning. It's got you thinking about, how have I been maybe not being as authentic as I need to be? Okay. And what is it that I'm doing that's really working? And I can see how it's worked in my business, or how can I grow as it relates to some of these things? So the first thing that I talked about is, number 1, the importance of being original. Okay. Not being a smaller version of someone else. All right. All your superpowers are you being yourself, period. All right. It was like my very first speaking engagement with like a large group. I was trying to sound like Les Brown, like me. Okay. Me or Redrick. And the problem is that I'm not Les Brown. He's dynamic. He's amazing. And I'm dynamic and amazing, but I'm not Les Brown. And how could I be Les? Doesn't fit for me. Okay. I've got a different approach. All right. And it came across that way. Be original, be yourself. I know some of you guys are like, I can't even imagine. All right. Number 2, increase your self-trust. And self-trust comes from you practicing the things that you feel in your gut. Like, I should do this. I feel like this is the right move for me. And just moving in that direction and trusting that it's going to work for you. You don't have to be a smaller version of anyone else. Number 3, understand that transparency is super attractive. When you are yourself, people really enjoy being around people, hey, Tiffany, who are 100% transparent. They are, right? People that are transparent are very attractive. They're very magnetic. I was with my daughter on vacation recently. I want to call it vacation. And And the sommelier comes over to me and says, I just feel like you're a person I should know. And sit there with us for about an hour and a half. They have the largest, wine selection in the Caribbean, like all of the Caribbean. And we just talked and he invited us for a private tour and things like that. You know, be transparent, be yourself, be comfortable in your skin no matter where you are or who you're with, right? Do whatever you need to do to work on that. All right, number 4, owning your truth. Okay, doing what you're meant to do, not what you think you should or ought to be doing. Oh, she's doing that, I ought to be doing that. Think about what you are meant to do. All right, like literally, I use the tech example because I think it's a great example. I built my entire business. I am so not tech, okay, and I'm good with it. And I never decided like I'm going to go to school and learn tech, or I'm going to overcome this. And I'm not. I'm like, look, it's works for me. All right. And there's no should or ought. Be yourself and become comfortable with that. There were people when I first got started in my business 19 years ago that said, Mia, if you want to build a great coaching business, you need to be a speaker. But I didn't want to be a speaker because I didn't want to go on the road. Okay. I wanted to be home. Remember, I wanted to build a business around the comfort of my life. And so I knew that wasn't what I should be doing because I did not want to live that way. Okay. Nothing wrong with it. It's not what I was choosing for me. Number 5, consistency. Listen, look, when you are 100% authentic, it's so easy to be you. It's so easy to remember what you're saying. You don't have to keep switching things up over and over again because you're just being consistent. Literally, you get to go deeper in what you know. And I hope that this really supports you, expands you. It encourages you to be a higher version of yourself in every single way. Know that your teachers, your coaches, and your mentors, people that are in your world that are elevating you, the best thing that you could possibly do when you're working with your mentors is being yourself. Being a baby version of them is a dishonor because truthfully, the power is in you bringing your A game and being all of who you are. The world needs who you are. They need you as you and your experiences and your background and your gifts and your talents. All right, that's what I had to share with you today. I'd love to hear any ahas or takeaways that you have. If so, just post them here. And I'd love to just get some feedback from you in terms of what your experience was tonight. Equally, I'm going to post here one of my webinars. If you are interested in taking your knowledge and packaging it in any way, and you're like, how do I do that? It's free, 100% free. I'm going to post it right here for you. Okay, so Amanda writes, wow, I love this. Being myself, love this. That's easy, right? Being yourself is the easiest thing ever. Okay, so let's do more, please, right? More, please. Okay. And Valerie says, thanks, Chief Giant. You always add tremendous value to our lives, business, and mindset. I can't wait to see you next week. All right. Let me know if I can support you anyway, Valerie. Okay. And we should check in on Monday just to make sure you've got enough of your content, right? So, all right. Tiffany says, this supports me. Be authentic and be yourself 100%. Okay. That's the link for the webinar. 1 second. And Thomasine says, do you have one-on-one coaching? We do offer one-on-one coaching and group coaching. We have several options. I have many options. You can always inbox us and we'll get right back to you. Okay. And RB, I like that. Hi, Mia. So glad I was able to tune in. I have questions about the 2 upcoming trainings. Can I message you offline? Yeah, you totally can. So excited to be able to support clients through the Giant Experience Master Training. It is really the first step if you're thinking of packaging your knowledge, RB, into a high ticket offering. It is literally the first step to work with me. It's immersive, 100%. You get access to my, I'm trying to cut my phone off, isn't that funny? You get access to amazing training. It's about 10 plus hours. But I think it's not just what you would normally think that you'd get in a conventional training. I teach my clients how to think differently in an elevated way. And it's the reason why they create amazing success. Because first, we have to change our inner game in order to change our outer game. So the training is inside of a portal. You get 30-day access to watch it, rewind, replay, and all that. But then in addition to that, I also bonus a live event. And that is a 2-day live event. There are multiple dates. There's an October date, there's a November date. So inbox me. I'll tell you more about it, and I can grab that link too, and I'll post it here. You probably already have it, but for anybody else wants to take a peek, and take a peek. So and see for yourself. I'm not a big fan of selling anyone anything because you have to find what's right for you and who's right for you. And I know that the women that I work with, they're action takers, they're go-getters, they're go-givers. They have knowledge that they want to package at the highest level, and they're trying to figure out how to put it in a structure that's super different. That the models will get them free. I can't guarantee that you'll be free, but a lot of my clients are, or a lot of my clients hit 6 figures and more. I'm packaging their knowledge into high ticket offerings with my system, but it is not the conventional training that most are accustomed to. I think people love the way that I do it differently. So take a peek at the page. So are there any other ahas or takeaways that you might have for me? If so, about this live tonight, or anything else? Any other ahas or takeaways about this live tonight? Amanda writes, yes, the Giant program made me change my mindset and know my value, right? So you literally went from like $1,000, charging $1,000, to understanding how to charge immediately $5,000, right, for the exact same thing, and more, right, and more. So and relatively quickly. So, but you're Amanda, you're amazing. You're an implementer. You're an action taker. So I could teach you the most amazing thing ever, but if you don't take that action, right, you don't practice self-trust, what I just talked about. You don't own your truth, what you're really good at, right, and get clear on what makes you original, what is it that you do, then nothing works, right? So conversely, if you do, then you can create amazing success quick, fast, soon. And quick, fast, soon doesn't mean overnight success. For those of you who are like instant success, that's not. I can't guarantee anything like that for anyone, because the truth of the matter is I don't know you and I don't know what you'll do. But my clients have achieved significant success because they do the work. And those who do the work and apply what I teach them in the order that I teach them, and they're consistent, they see changes in their life and significant changes in their business as well. So any other ahas, takeaways before I sign off? I'm so excited to be here. Normally when I do my lives, I'm on the other side of my office. And I thought tonight, I'm just going to do this live right here. Usually this is where I am when I coach my clients or when I host my live events. And I thought tonight I will just be on the other side of the desk and support you here. So I'm real excited to have the opportunity. Any questions, last call, comments, questions? I'm so excited that I had the opportunity to be here with you tonight. Super excited. Tomorrow, Amanda, I get to actually like wash my face in a completely different way because, when you put the peel on, you have to leave it on for 2 days and you can't you have to blot, but you can't really scrub your face. That's like true. But tonight I get to put there's like a collagen treatment and something else I put on my face. So I'm real excited about it. Just experimenting. All right. Well, I love you guys. Have a great and amazing night, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.